Is December 18th. It's almost the end of the year, and the class tonight is also our last class. In this year, we have topics about Xinmin class, classics, Dao cultivation and propagation, etc. And we all have learned a lot from these topics. On April 17th, we have topic about the Great Learning main text, shared by our Susanna Lecture-Lin. Due to the great response, we once again invite Lecture-Lin to share the topic about the Great Learning 8 stages. Right now, without any further delay, let's welcome our lecture Chen to introduce the topic and our Lecture-Lin.
Dear brothers and sisters, good evening. As we all know that now more and more foreign friends are interested in Chinese classics. Recently, we have a Dao member whose PhD dissertation is about Dao De Jing. And today, we also have an English Dao seminar member from India whose major is Chinese literature. They are all interested in learning Chinese culture and Chinese philosophy. That's why after they receive Dao, they will have a better understanding about many important concepts in our lectures on Dao. That's why Master Lin and Master Peng mercifully hope that we can spend time on Chinese classics, starting from the 4 books. Tonight, we are very happy to invite Lecturer Lin to share with us a very important part in the Great Learning. That is the 8 stages, 8条目. Lecturer Lin has been cultivating Dao for more than 30 years. She is a very sincere and devoted Dao cultivator. All her family are dedicated to Dao cultivation, and her elder brother is a Dao transmitting master. Lecturer Lin is a very knowledgeable for all kinds of classics and sutras. She often gives lectures in Chinese Dao seminars and inspire many new Dao members. As she has been to US for further studies, her English is also very good. And she has been to Nepal, New Zealand for Dao propagation. That's why we often invite her to give lecture in English Dao seminar, and all the foreign friends like her sharing. I also learn a lot from her. Actually, Lecturer Lin has a very tight schedule for all the Dao classes and Dao seminars. Tonight, we are very happy that she can squeeze time to share with us the 8 stages in the Great Learning. Welcome, Lecturer Lin.
Thank you, Monica, for your wonderful introduction. Good evening, brothers and sisters. Thanks to the grace of heaven, the virtues of our holy teachers, the mercy of our Lao Qianren and Qianren up in heaven, and thanks to Dao transmitting masters, lecturers, and all of you who make it possible for me to share this topic, the Great Learning, with you. Today's class is our second session and is also our last session on Great Learning. And we will talk about the 8 stages, 8条目. Before we start the 8 stages, let's review what we have learned, what we have shared last time. The source of Great Learning. We all know that originally the Great Learning was 1 chapter in the Classics of Rites. And during Southern Song Dynasty, Zhu Xi separated the Great Learning from the Classic of Rites, organized the book as a main text, Jing Yi Zhang, of Confucius teaching and transcribed by Zhen Zi, followed by 10 commentary chapters written by Zhen Zi. Okay, and the content of the Great Learning. Zhu Xi summarized the content of the main text into 3 guiding principles and 8 stages, and followed by 10 commentary chapters. And these 10 commentary chapters are elaborations on the 3 guiding principles and 8 stages. And we also have learned the 3 guiding principles are, number 1, 明明德, to manifest our inherent right virtues. And obviously it's internal cultivation. And second principle is 亲民, to transform others. And this 亲 has two meanings. One meaning is 亲, and the other meaning is 心. So either 亲民 or 心民 will do. And if we explain it as 亲, then it is to be acquainted with or to be familiarized with a person. And 心 means to transform others. And actually, we cannot transform others without first building relationship with them. So both 亲 and 心 are applicable and actually should be used in combination. Okay, and the third guiding principle is 止于至善, to achieve and rest in supreme goodness, which means to attain ultimate enlightenment, to go back to our heavenly home. So it's our final goal, 觉醒圆满. And this 觉醒圆满 is not an external achievement, rather is to restore and manifest our true nature completely. So it is 佛归本位. Okay, and because this time I revised my translation, I use the word rest to translate 止. And now I would like to share why I use the word rest. Because as the scripture goes, 狂心自歇，歇即菩提, which means a sentient being's mind is restless, so-called like bustling monkeys and galloping horses, 心猿意马. So in cultivation, we don't need to kill the monkeys nor the horses. The only thing we need to do is to find a way to let our monkeys and horses to rest. So let the madness in our mind cease and rest. And just that resting is bodhi. And that's why I translate 止 as rest. So the final goal of three guiding principles, 觉醒圆满, 止于至善, to rest in supreme goodness, is nothing but restoring our true nature. It's like a traveler returning home. It's not achieving something extraordinary on the outside, rather it's to return to manifest our original nature on the inside, to find and manifest our internal Buddha, 佛归本位. So Buddha nature has never left us. No matter how many reincarnations we have gone through, no matter how many lifetimes we have been through, our Buddha nature is always within us. And since it is so we need to 止于至善 from the start, from the very beginning of our cultivation. We don't just 止于至善 when we achieve our final goal. Actually, we need to learn to 止于至善, to practice 止于至善 from the very start of our cultivation journey, from the beginning and throughout to the end. So the word 止 means to cease, to be settled, to rest. And the word 于 means in. And the term 至善 means our true nature, 无极理天, our heavenly home. And heavenly home is not somewhere we go only after we pass away. We can go back home even when we are alive, right? So here I use hidden meaning. So why hidden? Because the heavenly secret, only people who have received Tao, like you and me, we can comprehend where to rest. So 止于至善, from the text, people might understand its final goal is 觉醒圆满, but we have a hidden meaning. We need to learn to 知止 from the very start of our Tao journey. Okay, so since 止于至善 need to be practiced from the very beginning, so Mencius taught us, use an example of a farmer, how the farmer cherish his own dogs and chickens. So Mencius states, when people release their dogs and chickens from their confinements during the day, they know they should find them back in the evening. Because if there is any single one goes astray, the owner will do everything to get it back. But conversely, when people allow their minds to wander, they do not know that they should bring them back. Sometimes they think it's beautiful. Sometimes. So because sentient beings' minds wander endlessly, and sentient beings are not even aware of how their thoughts appear or disappear. So they are frequently driven by their thoughts. So all sentient beings need to redirect their minds. We all need to redirect our minds to the place in which our true nature resides. Go back to redirect our wandering mind, to return to our true nature. So the purpose of cultivation is merely about seeking and bringing back the wandering mind. So our Lao Qianren, when His Holiness was still with us, His Holiness always say, 道在自身，身外无道. But notice, to bring back our wandering mind, to rest in our true nature, does not happen forcefully, which means we need to practice this patiently and naturally. While doing the reflection, do not exert any force upon it. We need to do it naturally. 老前人 often said, 那可得自然才行啊. Okay, and then we have learned the 5 steps of practicing resting. Since we need to practice 止于至善 from the very beginning of our Tao journey throughout to the end, so there are 知止的5步功夫, 5 steps of practicing resting in the great learning. And the term 知止的5步功夫 actually is quoted from the Holy Revelation, 大学之道之真义, given by our holy teacher at Guanghui Temple in 2016. And in this holy revelation, holy teacher clearly indicated that 定静安律德 are 5 steps, 5步功夫. Okay, so we have read this before, but I would like to read it once more. When we know where to rest, our wandering minds will be settled and stable. When our wandering minds settle down, gradually our minds can be tranquil. When our minds are tranquil, gradually we can feel secure. To feel secure is like how a traveler feels when he goes home. And when we feel secure, gradually we will be able to reveal our wisdom. When we reveal our wisdom, we will be able to achieve our goal, to fulfill our vows. And within the 5 steps of practicing resting, there's something we need to notice. You can note that there is 一个有 and 4个能. And between 止 and 定, there is 有. And then in the following steps, there are 4个能. Okay, so 有 means we surely will. That means if we know where to rest and rest our mind at the right place, then we surely will find stability. However, if we don't persist in resting our mind here, we will be restless again. This process is reversible. So if we persist, then we can move on to the next step. Move on to tranquility, to security, to wisdom, to achievement. So the word can actually has a very profound meaning. The word can means our persistence and perseverance from the beginning throughout to the end. And without persistence and perseverance, actually, we can't achieve anything, even though all of us have received Tao. Okay, so this can then actually very meaningful. Okay, let's go to the 8 stages. The 8 stages beginning with a question, how to benefit the world. So when sage sovereigns and chancellors of ancient times aspired to restore every person's true nature in the world. So why the 8 stages start with the purpose to better the world? Why not start with better oneself? Because we know that to cultivate Tao, to propagate Tao, everyone should start from cultivating oneself. Why this start with better the world? Because the aspirations of all saints and sages are the same. They have only one goal, to benefit all sentient beings. 所以圣严仙佛都是为了利益众生啊。They don't start with a purpose to benefit themselves. They start with a purpose to benefit all sentient beings. Like our holy teacher, Ji Gong. Gong means to save, Ji Gong means to save the public. It is a very, very selfless goal, very, very selfless aspiration. And that's why all the saints and sages, their aspirations start with the goal of benefiting the world. And to fulfill this aspiration, they found they need to make their own country a better place first, to lay a good foundation for bettering the world. They first need to better their country. So second, they began by governing well their own countries, making them prosperous and peaceful. And to govern their countries well, they found that they needed to make their home a better family, to set a role model for his people. So the third one, to govern well their own countries, they first build unity in their own families. And what does family unity mean? Family unity means all members in the family love and respect each other. They get along harmoniously, and most important of all, they have the same core value. They want to ultimately help themselves transcend the cycle of reincarnation and to help others to do so. So to help his family realize the absolute truth, he found that, saints and sages found that explaining in words is not as good as teaching by example. 言教不如身教, right? So he needed to cultivate himself well enough to convince his family to cultivate Tao. So number 4, to build unity in their own families, they first cultivated themselves well, eliminating all ill tempers and bad habits. And to cultivate themselves well, they first center their minds. 正其心. They first center their mind. And now I want to share why I use the word center. Because we can read Holy Teacher's Holy Revelation first. Holy Teacher said, as a human being living on this planet, where is the 正位? 正位, I would like to translate as central position. It's like 主位, the most important, the central, the main position, the central position. Where is the central position within oneself? Where is the central position within one's face? If a person takes his mouth as the central position, then this person may tend to gossip, right? If a person takes his nose as the central position, then this person may tend to be attached to smells, right? And if the person takes his eyes as his central position, then he may be prejudiced based on what he sees, right? So where is our central position? Another hidden secret. All of us, Tao receivers, we know that position. So based on this holy revelation, I translate 正起心正 as center, because I have found other translation as some people will translate it as to rectify. Some will translate as to correct. But as a Tao receiver, we would like to translate it as to center our mind. Okay, and then if one's intentions are like bustling monkeys or galloping horses, 如果我们的意念是一直心猿意马, how can one center one's mind? So number 6, to center their minds, they first maintain sincere intentions so that they can center their mind. And intentions are out of one's nature. So here, number 7, to maintain sincere intentions, they first restore their true nature. Because as a human being, we have our human nature. Human nature is a confused state of true nature, half yin and half yang. Sometimes we have positive thoughts, but sometimes we have negative thoughts. If we can't restore our perfect true nature, how can we maintain sincere intentions all the time? And that's why number 7, we need to, if we want to maintain sincere intentions, we need to first restore our true nature. And then number 8, in order to restore their true nature, they had to filter and purge the contents in their minds first. The contents in ascension beings' minds include what? Include 贪嗔痴, greed, anger, and ignorance. So ascension beings need to purge, filter and purge, 习心底虑, filter and purge the contents of the mind in order to subdue one's ill temper and eradicate one's bad habits. We often talk about to get rid of our ill temper and eradicate our bad habits. But those ill temper and bad habits actually caused by trouble in our mind. So we need to 洗心涤虑, filter and purge the contents of our mind in order to subdue our ill temper, eradicate our bad habits. So far we have studied the 8 stages in a traceback manner, in a 就是反溯, 反方向的, 从目标开始, 然后 trace back. We have shared the 8 stages in a traceback manner because saints and sages, they have great aspirations to achieve their goal. When they find difficulties, they know they need to examine themselves. So they turn inward. So their aspiration is to better the world, and then turn inward to better their country, and then turn inward to better their family, and turn inward to better himself, and turn inward to center his mind, to sincere his intentions, to restore his true nature. And restoring his true nature lies in filter and purging his mind content. So this is the concept of 心有不得, 反求诸己, to discuss the 8 stages in a traced back manner. And here is the flow chart of the 8 stages listed in a traced back manner. 平衡一下, 所以要先治国. And before we can govern the country well, I mean, the sage kings and the virtuous chancellors, before they can govern their country well, they need to regulate their family well. And before regulate their family well, they need to cultivate themselves well. And before they can cultivate themselves well, they need to center their mind. And before that, they need to maintain sincere intentions. And how to maintain sincere intentions? Because intentions are out of one's nature. So one needs to restore one's true nature in order to maintain sincere intentions all the time. And to restore one's true nature, one needs to go filter and purge the contents of one's mind. So this is the flow chart. And so when the person already restore his true nature, where goes a saying, 本固之容? The true nature is like the roots of our whole being. So when the roots are well taken care of, the trunk and branches will grow naturally. So next slide is the 8 stages listed in a straightforward manner. After we purge the contents in our minds, we will restore our true nature. When we restore our true nature, our intentions will be sincere. When our intentions are sincere, our minds will be centered. When our minds are centered, we can refine ourselves. When we have refined ourselves, we can regulate our families well. When we have regulated our families well, we can govern or have a positive influence on our country. So when we talk about 治国平天下, we may think of maybe some high-rank officials, some sovereigns, some kings, emperors, or chancellors. That's their job, not our job. But because when Confucius talk about the ancient times, it refers to Green Yang era. 孔老夫子是红阳期的圣人呢，他老讲的古时候就指青阳期 right? So Confucius talk about ancient times, it refers to Green Yang era. And in Green Yang era, the heavenly decree was bestowed on sage kings and chancellors, 道在君相. So they cultivated themselves well and benefit the people naturally. So it was reasonable to talk about 治国平天下 for the sage kings and chancellors. But why are we learning great learning? We are no kings, no chancellors. In Wai Yang era, heavenly decree is bestowed on common people, 道在庶民. So we as common people, we don't run for presidency, we don't run for political campaign, right? Then are 8 stages applicable to us? Can 8 stages apply to us? Yes, thanks to the grace of heaven. Every cultivator can cultivate oneself and better the society. And this is a way to help the nation, help our country to become better. So this is a way of 治国 too, right? So we can have a positive influence on the country, on the society to better our country. And furthermore, we can propagate Tao in a foreign country. And this is a way to bring peace to the world, to create world peace, to help make the world a better place. So 因为有道, because of Tao, 治国平天下 can apply to us too, even though all of us are common people. And so when we have regulated our families well, we can govern or have a positive influence on our country. When our country is well governed, we can create world peace. And this slide is the flow chart of 8 stages listed in a straightforward manner. When the contents of one's mind filter and purge, 格物格, then one's true nature restored. And since one's true nature restored, every intention is sincere. And when all the intentions sincere all the time, so this person's mind is centered. And since his mind is centered, he is a person who have cultivated very well cultivated. And since he cultivated himself very well, he can be a role model for his family. So his family can be well regulated. And his family can be a role model for the people in the society. So he can help make the society a better place. And then he can propagate Tao in foreign country and help create world peace, help people in other country to restore their true nature too. So it's listed in a straightforward manner. And so to summarize, we use a tree with roots, with trunk and branches and leaves. To summarize, 格致成正 belong to internal cultivation, and 修齐治平 belong to external manifestation, external merits. And it is somewhat controversial to classify 修身 as an external manifestation. Because when we think of 修身, we always think it's belong to ourselves. It's an inside job. It's internal cultivation. But 修身 here, according to Fu Youdijun's merciful teachings, 修身, Fu Youdijun said, because 修身 身 means one's behaviors and utterances. 修身代表说这个人的行为还有他的言语啊，行为可以被看到，言语可以被听到。So behaviors and utterances which can be seen or heard. So these belong to exterior manifestations. So they have been manifested on the outside. So they belong to external manifestations. So 4 belong to internal virtues and another 4 belong to external merits. Okay, the above is the sharing of the 8 stages. Now I would like to share 2 selective readings from the 10 commentary chapters, actually from chapter 10 only. Okay. The first sharing is 斜举之道. 斜 means to measure the length. 量这个长短啊 to measure the 用绳子量长短 to measure the length. And 举 is the tool to help draw squares. 举是画方形的工具。斜 means to measure and 举 means to regulate here. Okay, and Zhenzi said, whatever wrong that you hate to be treated by your superiors, probably we have suffered from our superiors, for example. But since we have learned this experience, do not impose that behavior on your inferiors. And whatever wrong that you hate to be treated by your inferiors, do not do to your superiors. Whatever wrong that you hate to be treated by those in front, don't impose on those behind. Whatever wrong that you hate to be treated by those behind, don't do to those in front. Whatever wrong that you hate to be treated by those on the right, don't impose on those on the left. Whatever wrong that you hate to be treated by those on the left, don't impose on those on the right. So this is 斜举之道. This is the way of measuring and regulating, and which means don't do to others what you would not want done unto you. 己所不欲，勿施于人. And this verse is, I mean, to me, I feel very touched and inspirational because it gives us a role model of 吃苦, suffer lots of hardships. If you have suffered lots of hardships, what kind of person will you become? We may become a person, a wise person. We may become wiser and more merciful because we know how to avoid treating others the way we was treated before, or we may become bitter, harsh, and revengeful, and even revenge on innocent people. So the left side is what a bodhisattva will do. And the right-hand side is what makes a sentient being. So 吃苦到底会使人慈悲，还是会使人变得尖酸刻薄？ This verse gives us a very good example and deserve our self-examination. Okay, and another sharing, also very touching. 修修有容, generous and big-hearted. In the book of history 就是书经啊。In the book of history, the chapter Oath of Qin Shi says, suppose there is a minister who is loyal and sincere, but he does not have any specific abilities. He does not have any specific abilities. However, he is kind and broad-minded. When he sees talented people, he is happy. He is as happy as if he has the same talent. When he sees virtuous people, he really appreciates their virtues and praises them from the bottom of his heart. And know that this person, without any ability, he only has a big heart. If such a big-hearted minister is put into an important position, he will not only protect the people and the future generations, but also bring benefit to them. 可以保护，可以利他，可以利益众生。Why? With his virtues. So, let me see. So it's so beautiful. It's not that the verse does not emphasize that ability not important. 这一段并不是在强调才华不重要啊。Rather, it emphasizes on the virtue, because only selfless virtue, only the virtue of selflessness can really benefit people, can really benefit sentient beings. Of course, if a person with selflessness plus ability, 那很加分呢, is even better. It doesn't mean 才华不重要, but the only thing that can benefit people is the selfless virtue. Why? The next verse tells us why. This verse tells us the negative example for 修修有容, 就是修修有容的负面教材啊。Zhenzi said, on the contrary, if a minister is jealous of the talented and hates them, and when seeing the virtuous, when he sees the virtuous people, he deliberately antagonizes them. He will stop them. He will stop them from being promoted. He will hinder them from being employed or promoted. He is so narrow-minded. If such a minister is put into an important position, he will not be able to protect the people and future generations. And even worse, he will be very dangerous. He will put the whole country in danger. So within the verse, you can see this minister actually nothing but great anger and ignorance. 就是说这个好像很坏的人，其实不是，他就是贪嗔痴而已嘛，就贪嗔痴啊。So how dangerous a person is when he has 贪嗔痴. Well, the best example is 白雪公主的后母啊 ，Snow White's stepmother， 或者是灰姑娘的后母啊 ，the stepmother of Cinderella, right? The best example of 贪嗔痴. okay? And our holy teachers, holy revelation serve as a summary for this concept. This is very beautiful. Holy teacher said, the title is 随喜篇 to rejoice. 随喜就是 rejoice, to rejoice in others' talents and virtues. And this concept, this attitude of to rejoice can establish merits and virtues. 就是这个随喜就是功德了。Why? Holy teacher say, in seeing the talented, be happy, as if you also have the same talent. In seeing the virtuous, appreciate and learn from them. Be happy for others' success and help them achieve their goals. Never ever impede or hinder them out of jealousy or anger. And then you shall be greatly rewarded for your joyful help toward others in their Tao cultivation and propagation. So this is very beautiful. To rejoice in other people's success. Some people might wonder, we just rejoice, the simple attitude of rejoicing in other people's success can establish merits and virtues. Why? Because to rejoice in other people's success has great merits and virtues, because when we can do that, we are free from ego. We are free from jealousy, free from anger, free from competition, free from the desire to win, etc. And when we can do that, we love people as much as we love ourselves. We can be happy for their success from the bottom of our heart. And to achieve this 随喜功德 is actually effortless. 就是不费力气，无为。Allow me to speak some Chinese. 就是以前有一位李典师大家都认识李建仁李典师，他讲一段很有趣，他就说随喜功德是最好做的就是当别人呢大科汉小科汉大了瓜碎了瓜在努力行功立德的时候呢，你只要负责什么？负责高兴就好了，你只要高兴就好了，然后你的功德跟他一样。这是佛经上有记载，随喜是一种功德。So when other people work so hard and put in lots of effort, all we have to do is be happy. And then when we can help, we help. And we praise them from the bottom of our heart. And we have the same功德. Isn't it effortless? But know that we have to be truly happy from the bottom of our heart. And this is the beauty of 随喜功德. Okay, now we come to the conclusion for today's sharing. On receiving Tao, Holy Teacher indicates for us that we have our true nature. I use this perfect circle, the empty perfect circle, to represent our true nature. Our Holy Teacher indicates for us that we have our true nature and open the heavenly gate for us to explore our true nature. And then we start to 学修讲办, we start to learn, cultivate, practice Tao to restore and manifest our true nature, right? And in our cultivation journey, great learning, in our cultivation journey, great learning teaches to practice the three guiding principles, where within our true nature, and also practice the 5 steps of practicing resting, the 5 steps of resting, also within our true nature, and the 8 stages within our true nature too. So to learn, cultivate, preach, or propagate Tao, we have never left our true nature. In great learning, we just remember the number 3, 5, and 8. 3 means 3 guiding principles, and 5 means 5 steps of resting, and 8 means 8 stages. And 3 and 8 were summarized by Zhu Xi Fuzi in Southern Song Dynasty. And 5 steps are indicated by our holy teacher in White Yang era. So if we comprehend 3, 5, and 8, then we comprehend the great learning. If we practice 3, 5, and 8, then we are learning to be great. If we fulfill 3, 5, and 8, then we restore our inner greatness. Thank you. And if I have made any mistakes, I beg for God and Buddha's forgiveness. I hope Master and brothers and sisters give me comments. Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you.